showcase, glory's chase, feel the ground shake. You stand tall, never fear the climb. All for one, and it's game time. In the stands, hear the roaring crowds, wearing colors, we're standing proud. 12 teams fight under the spotlight's rays. Glory's night in the all-star blaze. Sweat and toil on this hallowed turf, one will rise.
Good evening, boys. Hopefully you can hear us. Good to be back in the hot seat for the All-Stars. And it's the quarterfinals of the playoffs tonight. Just a reminder that the playoffs in the MLS are a little bit fucking weird. In that it is a best of three. So ultimately, if you win the first two, you're through. If you draw one or both of the fixtures, then it will go to a decider. There are some mad US-style penalty shootouts. I can't remember if it's the first game or the third. Yeah, Vikings can go early tonight. Jens, my boy. These are the teams. Steam Pigs against Vikings. Alcatraz against Dandies. A Local Fire against Short Pump. And Pelham against St. Domingo. Pelham against St. Domingo will probably leave till last because I think that's probably the tastiest fixture. Bisons for me have probably got the best starting 11 in this playoff lineup, I think. Now that everybody's fit, but we will see how they'll fare. So we'll start at the top. We'll go Steam Pigs against the Vikings. And we'll look at Steve's Steam Pigs, I think finalists last year against Scotty. And the year before, actually. So he's looking to be third time lucky. This is how he goes. The only change is pushing the flat four across the DM line, one at the midfield. So we've got the Burn Trident rather than the conventional 2-7-1. Boya comes in for Soroczynski. Other than that, it is, as Steve looks to kind of reactivate Ronaldinho. Really, probably been disappointing in terms of since coming in. Look at those rows of sixes. Not what you want from him. But Steve is in the final 8 and has just as much of a chance at everybody else. The form team in the league going into the playoffs: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 wins on the spin and looking ominous. They've only conceded 3 goals in that period. Without a doubt, the best wingers on the game, supplying a front 3 that have really clicked. And I think we can absolutely say that this is the best we've seen from Hussein and Ronaldo in any form of competitive champ. Jens is a bit of a pessimist when it comes to the playoffs in competitive champ. He thinks he's a bit cursed. Usually goes pretty well in the regular season. Best of luck to both managers. I think the first goal in this will be absolutely massive. Jens Jeremy's into the book early doors. Taibbi with a big save from Hussein. And there is Ronaldo. It was a rebound from Ronaldinho, and Ronaldo puts it into the net. 1-0 Vikings, half an hour played. Jeremy's clears it there. And that DMC line, the Vikings wall, is holding up really strongly so far. Vikings in goal looking relatively untroubled, although a little bit more pink and black in there. We kind of thought it at the time. We said Jeremy's into the book a little bit early, and the Vikings go down to 10. Yeah, Tero, I think he's 3 DMCs are in the top 5 bracket of the game, and these wingers are the best too. And I'd probably argue that it probably doesn't matter who you've got. You've just beat us to the punch there. Your comments just came through. Can play anybody else if you have those 5. I would absolutely agree. We could probably have Richie Wellams at AMC and he'd still be doing bits. So Jens, let me know what you want to do here. You've got the 1-0 lead away from home in this first leg. Steve, let us know what you want to do there, bud. And we'll have a click for half time in just a second. But for now, let's see what Jens and Steve want to do. Jens is probably furiously, and he does go a little bit defensive, but you'd understand that. Ado for Mackay, Ado in Jeremy's position, Ronaldo with an AMC, and Hussein central striker, brilliant. And Steve will leave it to half time. Casillas spills one, but his defender's there to clear it, and we do get a half time. And actually, Steam Pigs have had more of the opportunities, but Vikings for that first 20-25 minutes did look really on top until the Steam Pigs kind of started to come into the game. 6s and 7s for the Steam Pigs, and no surprise that it is those forward attacking players, Del Vecchio, Sigalko, Ronaldinho, Van Bommel and Boya, that have really struggled to get on the ball and involved. Ronaldinho offering very little again. It does indeed show the strength of their DMs, Steve. I would absolutely agree with it, mate. And then we've got an 8 for Ronaldo, and Jeremy's had the assist before the sending off on an 8 again. Jens goes as is, which is perhaps unsurprising given the sense that his hand has been forced before the half-time whistle. And Steve sensibly leaves it till 60, having seen his team create in relation to the match stats. Next goal will be absolutely massive within this, but Ronaldo has been class. And there is Hussein. Ronaldo was getting the plaudits in the chat, but it is Hussein who scores the goal to really turn this tie in the Vikings' favour. Ronaldinho into the book now. It's all going a little bit wrong for the Steam Pigs. 57 minutes played. We'll click and hold it there as Maxim is on a 5. Just before the 60-minute mark, we'll give Steve a chance to just digest those ratings. Ronaldinho has been so poor for the Steam Pigs, but it is a best of 3 legs. Over to the Vikings. Casillas now on a 9 despite spilling that one that led to the free kick that Steam Pigs are just about to take, and an 8 for Ronaldo and Dario Hussein. Vikings go Franca for Jens, and the Vikings go as is. And Steve goes Franca for Del Vecchio. There we go. And they will roll until full time. You'd think Steam Pigs probably have to get a goal within the next 10 or 15 minutes to be able to get back into the tie fully. It looked as though Hussein was at the back doing some defensive work there. Salihamidzic now really trying to get going down that right-hand side. Sigalko can't miss, and he doesn't miss. And we are now into a bit of territory where we jump to 87 minutes. It's a throw-in. Maxim was on a 5 at half-time. You just do not take Maxim off. Hussein puts it wide. That would have killed the tie. 90 minutes. Can Steam Pigs generate anything else? They're going to get an interception here. Maldini's done it. Mendieta throws the ball into Matsi Mendieta as the earliest. Ronaldo pushed by Lucio. And Mendieta just stands over the free kick, waits for the referee to blow his whistle. And despite a hell of a lot of Steam Pigs pressure, the Vikings wall, even with one man less, holds true. And that's a massive away performance from the Vikings to come away with a notch on the scorecard against the Steam Pigs in the first of 3 potential shootouts. Well played, Jens, and unlucky to Steve. We got Alcatraz against the Dandies next, and it is only the one change for the Alcatraz boys. Constantino comes on the bench for Tony, and he stays as is. Yeah, they were Tito. That's in fact, we'll jump to Scotty. A logo, of course we can. So we go to our logo and short pump. I haven't heard from Darren, and if he's not in the chat, he is. Yeah, check it live. It does. You're going to be next, mate, so you need to be in. This is how the local fire go. They're always a little bit streaky as a team, I think. Even when they won it, they kind of 1-2, lost 3, 1-3, lost 1-2, on and off. But this is how they go tonight. They are in the hat, and they are 1 of 8, and there's no reason why you can't do it again. And that is how he goes. Over to the sloths, Darren. If you're here, if you could just check that. The the confusion was that the comments you posted in the Twitter chat were in reference to a previous team submission picture above, but actually Dan had made some changes to U11 for the cup match, so those two things didn't marry up. So I've kind of tried to fill in the gaps where I think the team should be based on the interpretation of the two messages. Lovely, perfect, excellent. I appreciate that, Daz, mate. Thank you for the swift confirmation. Best of luck to both. Two sides that probably looked a bit shaky at times of getting into the playoffs, but they're here and they're in the hat and they've got just as much of a chance as everybody else. And Sloths across the course of the season have definitely kind of pulled up a few trees in terms of games against big teams where they've created an upset. But it is that man, Carlos Jacques, that talismanic a local fire player who gets them 1-0 up on 8 minutes. Put into row Z, fine save from Oliver Kahn. A lot of our local fire pressure, a hell of a lot of our local fire pressure towards the end, and it shows in the match stats with short pump slots when you're having 2 shots, neither of which are on target. Live with an 8 and Nahajchik on an 8. Scotty interestingly saying that he is now an absolute given for him in all forms of champ. He thinks he's brilliant, and he continues to put in performances. Over at the Sloths again, away from home, maybe a few too many arrows rocking about there for an away performance. 6s and 7s, and they both roll till 60. Thank you very much for that, gents. And we will see how we get on. It is their local fire who continue to pile on pressure. Collins, safe hands from Khan. Emerton just puts one over the ball. We jump to 68 minutes, and Davy Collins goes into the book. Just a little bit flat from short pump. Not really creating much, which is surprising because they can go on a bit of a streak, but without doubt they do miss Marcelo Salas. Over at the local fire, the yellow card for Davy Collins is probably the only concern, but you'd expect that Riquelme or Cabello would come on and just mitigate that really with 8s across that defensive line and in the centre-half position. Condition-wise for Scott, not that he's a big believer in it, but we have 79%. Yeah, it's probably going to be Collins for Cabello, isn't it? Or Riquelme, one of the two. And we'll see if the local fire can see this one out. Would be a real statement to win the first game from any team, really. And it is Collins for Cabello and Riquelme for Danielson. 2 AMC changes. Over to Darren, we will just give him a couple of more, well, a minute or so, because we'd assume that these changes are just likely to be a little bit more extensive. Henri for Trezeguet. Push Petrov into MC with arrow up arrow on Kerr. Swap Brozzek and Gallardo. Centralize Emerton. There we go. Like that, Daz. Just give me a good to go, please, bud. On 68 minutes as the short pump only need 1 goal, but overwhelmingly he is piling them forward there, potentially on that counter attack. Our local could have a bit of fun, but we'll see. As short pump do have the best of it, and there is Hoffland, who scuppers all of his manager's plans and tactical genius with a red card, a straight red card on 71 minutes. Didn't catch what it was for, but he is off, and surely Darren's got to go one at the back here. Scotty, if you could let me know what you want to do, mate, if you've still got signal. You obviously do have the chance to change. I can't imagine there'll be a change, so I'll not hang around unless I hear otherwise. Nothing from Scott. Centralise West. Lower arrow on Lizarazu and Yak. Okay, fair play. Makes sense. Makes total sense. As we go to 82 minutes, and it is Rustico who has been so good for the El Loco Fire. They hit the woodwork now. They are piling on the pressure, and they do add insult to industry, insult to not industry, insult to injury, and 3-0 comprehensively beaten, not helped by a Hoffland red card, but it's certainly a massive psychological advantage from the El Loco Fire. It's not tie-over, Daz. It's three standalone games, not an aggregate score. So Scotty essentially goes 1-0 up on games. You draw the next one, then win the last, you're through. Okay, right. We're going to go over to Dandies against Alcatraz. This is how the Dandies go. They go as is and just give Ferguson just a little tiny diag to try and get him forward that little bit more. He's been chipping in with goals and assists over the last couple of weeks. So long may that continue. Over to their opponents, Alcatraz FC came from nowhere to be a really strong force at the back end of the season. Performances from Yahaya, Kutuzov and Volodenkov in particular being really, really good. The only change is Constantinu on the bench for Tony. Best of luck to Mega Horse, and we'll see how this one goes. These two teams did play each other a hell of a lot in the back end of the regular season. And Yahaya scored the winner in the second goal, as did Figo score a goal, and he puts the Dandies level. Yahaya continues his impressive form at the back end of the season. Archie Back puts one over. Kutuzov puts one over. This is a real slobber knocker. Both teams going for it. Cannavaro into the book. Dandies withheld the pressure there. And Post denies one Seba Veron. Crespo with a fair shot. Cannavaro over the bar. This is an absolute belter of a playoff game. Well played, Horse. Real competitive end-to-end tie as we get to half-time at 1-1. Yahaya on an 8 with a assist from Gianluigi Zambrotta, and the rest looking absolutely fine, really. Paredes, whose Horse's magic man in all forms of competitive champ, continues to do bits with tackles and headers being won there. Over at the Dandies, Edgar David struggling in DMC. He's not been as good as we'd expect coming in, and Ferguson on a 6. That arrow really not working for him, potentially because of the density of those DMCs. So Dandies will just make a change and just drop that back with a bit more of Cafu and Carlos. And the Alcatraz boys say good game so far and continue to 60. I absolutely agree, mate. I think it's been a great game so far. Best game of the night as it stands. Samuel's in there. Crespo, big tackle, 63 minutes played. And it's a corner as we pause. We will go over to the Alcatraz boys first. Definitely edging the ratings. Paredes now up to a 9. And condition-wise, 80s and 90s there for the Alcatraz boys. Not that Horse is really a big believer in that, but we show him that anyway. Dandies will just make a couple of tweaks, I think. I think we'll protect Cannavaro there and bring on Yap Stam. We'll go Ambrosini for Davids, and we'll go Simkoviak for Louis Figo. And Horse just continues without any changes. And it is one Seba Veron. No one's picking up his runs from the midfield, who gives an advantage to Alcatraz in the game. Yeah, he does Tato, to be fair. I got him totally mixed up with you. It's gone up for a throw-in. Let's slow this down. 10 minutes to go. Indirect free kick for Veron, who seems to be having a really good game. And Stam follows Cannavaro into the book. Can the Dandies get themselves back into it? Ferguson, Bishgan. It's all Alcatraz by the looks of the text. That 2-4-2 is really shutting teams down, and Horse is going to find himself on the right end of a victory here tonight. And that is the final whistle, and it's advantage Alcatraz with a really big performance. Veron with the man of the match, but it could have been one of potentially 3 at full time there. Dandy's disappointing, couldn't quite generate enough on target, and they do fall behind in the tie. Game of the night, Pumas against the Bisons. This is how the Pumas go. And we will see how they get on tonight against a Bisons who look formidable. Bisons look like this. What an 11 this is. What a squad it is, to be honest. And really attacking bench. Really easy to spot. A really interesting attacking bench from the Bisons boys as we kick off. Amoroso puts it wide. Don't know if Amoroso was a former Bison, but he definitely was a former Badger at some point, I think. 29 minutes played. Montella shoots. Feels as though it's very much Pelham on top. Again, another save from Toldo. Toldo having an absolute blinder. Montella amongst everything that the Bisons are doing. As just getting a nice confirmation message that the Unicorns won again tonight with a 1-0 win. Brilliant, up the Unicorns. And this is how we look. Bisons not really generating anything. Pelham absolutely on top. Dan, if you hear me, let me know. Not that you'd have any reason to make any changes, to be honest. 2 away games as a reward for finishing higher in the league. Such an American thing, absolutely. But Toldo is having a blinder for you. Toldo's having an absolute blinder. And we'll see how they get on. Keen at DMC, flat 271. Makes total sense. Kitchen Dan isn't here, so we'll continue on, and we'll get the 60, and we'll see what happens. And we get the 60 really quickly as Nicky Ferenko. Joe Cole seems to be having a blinder. He's backed that up with an assist over to Pelham, and it is Nicky Ferenko, former Bison, who has put his team 1-0 up. Nothing to jump out about for Dan, so we'll not make any changes on his behalf. The 271 hasn't really worked for Tato there. And yeah, I know it's kind of Marmite as to whether or not people believe in morale, but I definitely feels as though the wind has been taken out of Bison's sails a little bit. With the impact of injuries then on the kind of form of players. Definitely stuttered across the line. Kuhl off for Shevchenko. Spud, if you just give us a nod that's it, mate, or if there's more. Yeah, I would agree, Tato. Not that it's like me to ever do any excuse, but I think it's a fair comment. Lovely. Pelham ahead, and we will go to full time. Feels like the Bisons are just a little bit more into this here. And Penza has missed 2 big chances there by the looks of the text. And it is Montella who puts the tie to bed on 89 minutes. And that's just about as solid as Pelham have looked in absolutely ages with the Joe Cole masterclass. And I don't think Tato, his comment came in, I don't think he could have any complaints about the result, really. Too many of these big guns didn't turn up, a bit like Dandies, but still in it and still all to play for. That brings us to the classified. Alcatraz beating Dandies, A Local Fire beating Shaw Pump, Pelham beating Bisons, and Steam Pigs being beaten by the Vikings, rather. And it's not even half time in the tie, as Jens says exactly the same, with it all to play for Sunday night. Packs will be out tomorrow, boys, and I shall upload the save tomorrow as well. We have 4 days between games, 5 days if you are Sloths and a Logo. Brilliant to be back in the hot seat tonight, boys. I hope you enjoyed it. Best of luck to the winners. Commiserations to the losers, but it's only 1 of 3 down. Good night, boys. Speak soon. Up the All-Stars.